The NFL recently got done with their new new selections of rule changes. Not all of them were good, and they definitely missed the mark on some of these. Alex Smith and TJ Ward have retired from the league, and there's something that we should definitely do for Alex Smith, one of the most respected guys to ever grace the gridiron. Washington football team, Alex, we were talking about this last time we're on. They are probably looking for a new team name. We talked, though, you said mostly because it's going to keep them in the headlines, which I would agree, but there's some fun ones that I want to get your opinion on right here. And then we're also going to run through our top 10 picks or our first 10 picks of the first round for our mock drafts. And of course, is Jalen Hurts even going to be the starting quarterback next year? Are the Falcons making a mistake? Are the Bengals making a mistake here? And what is going on with Dez Bryant and TJ Ward's career? Of course, then we're going to introduce you our new segment that we first brought on with our UFC show this week. This is the first time having it in one of our NFL breakdowns, and so I cannot wait for you guys to hear that one. Just got to wait until the end for that one. Alex, but how are we doing today? Of course, our NFL correspondent.
I mean, any day that we get to talk about football is a good day in my book, and the fact that the NFL does such an incredible job of having so many freaking dates on the calendar that we can talk about. I mean, I feel like the Super Bowl happened 2 weeks ago, and now we're already – I mean, we've been talking about the draft for so freaking long, and the top-heavy amount of quarterbacks that we have in this draft has just contributed to all the buzz that mainstream media, sports media – I mean, everyone's talking about these 5 quarterbacks, and it's definitely done a lot for just the talking heads, and they have endless football content all the time. And then you throw on top Alex Smith retires with just an incredibly done video. I mean, that video was very, very well done. TJ Ward, Dez Bryant retiring, all these guys retiring. So you talk about Hall of Famer, not Hall of Famer, who had a better career, all that stuff, just different ways that the NFL elongates their season is very impressive to me. And I have never looked forward to a draft more than this one. And maybe that's because I'm a huge Niners fan and we have so much invested in this 3rd overall pick that
Mac Jones.
If it goes the wrong way, I mean, I'm never going to be able to recover from it. And I'm just going to completely block out the fact that Mac Jones is a possibility and never think about that. And if I'm wrong, then that's that. And if I'm right, then I didn't have to waste any of that time, because I would drive myself nuts if I actually thought Mac Jones was going to be the pick.
Oh, that is the worst. And then I'm over here as a Broncos fan, not knowing what the hell George Patton's even thinking about doing this year. So I guess we'll just wait and see, and we'll see once we get to our mock draft. But Alex, one of the first things I want to talk about today is the Washington football team possibly changing their name, and they have given out a list of possible names. So I just want to go through some of the best ones in here, some of the worst ones in here, just to get to see what you think of these. All right. Now,
fire them off.
The first one, we're in Washington, the capital of the United States. So what better than the Ambassadors?
Oh, I mean, any team run by Dan Snyder, if you're actually called the Ambassadors, that's a travesty. Dan Snyder is the furthest thing from an ambassador to maybe an ambassador to
sexual assault.
No. Yeah. What's the island? What's the island? I don't know why you read my mind. Jeff.
Oh no. Are we really talking about little St. James Island?
Yes. Oh. He could be the ambassador, like the U.S. ambassador to that island potentially, but I don't know if I could back the ambassadors to the Washington name right there.
Hey.
That's a tough look. Jeffrey Epstein. Excuse me.
Really pull out the Epstein reference on there. Oh,
yep.
You're going to kid.
Yep.
That's tough. What about here? A better one.
Not safe for work this episode.
It's all good. No workplace is safe as long as you have Dan Snyder.
Great tie in there.
Oh, now what about the next name? A little better with this one. The Aviators.
The Aviators. The big issue with this one, this would be massive for the aviation community, because I think there's still 75% of the U.S. that doesn't know that aviation means flying. So
your brother would be on board with this one.
Sure. My brother PSA is a Navy pilot. He's actually flying over some part of the world right now, and he would be all for it. But I think that's a small subset of people that would go after the Aviators. I mean, although it would be unreal to see all the people that are just running into the stadiums and like airplane wings. I mean, the turnstiles would be a nightmare. There'd be so many clipped wings in the gates trying to get into these games. That would be funny. So I'm in for those two. I mean, the first two, I can never see them being any part of an NFL team name. So you're going to have to keep coming with new ones there.
Now, here we go. What about a callback to the greatest football league to ever exist? The Alliance of American Football, the AAF there. Sorry, didn't mean to offend any of you AAF fans, the ones that still exist. Arizona Hotshots never die. But we can throw it back to the San Antonio team, the Commanders. Now, this, I think, is one of the better names that they might have been able to come up with.
I'm a huge fan of that one. If you could get the naming rights back from the AAF, I think the Commanders would be an incredible name. And I think that's like one of those name changes that can actually create a culture for you. Because if your team name is the Commanders and you don't have natural leaders on that team, what are you doing? I mean, it's almost like it's built in for you.
It's almost like actually having Dan Snyder try and call him a commander of that.
Yes.
Now, they kind of stole from the AF, but the AF, it's good and dead. But a league that isn't dead just yet, again, is the XFL. But here you go. They have a couple names blatantly ripping from these. You got the DC Defenders, and you also have the New York Guardians. And that's two of the suggestions here. So first off, how dare you? Okay, how dare you try to rip off from the greatest league to ever exist? So great that it's been taken away from us twice. That's just a travesty. But here we go. Here's one of the really dumb ones, I think. The First City Football Club. What? Yeah.
Are you screwing with me?
No.
That's a good one.
Club,
I
the
get
FCFC.
it.
The FCFC.
Oh my God, that is horrible.
Who came up with that?
I mean, how do you greenlight that name? That is just atrocious. Yeah, move on to the next one. That shouldn't even get consideration. I think that's an embarrassing leak by the Washington football team on that one.
So we got the Aviators. We have, and then there's also the Pilots or the Red Tails. The Red Tails being one of the popular names before they just stuck with football team.
Yeah, I think Red Tails and Commanders. I think that's their only options at this point.
And I would also throw in there, maybe if you want to say with, I'm gonna say it. I'll trigger warning now. The Washington Redskins. If you want to stay with that, you can go Warriors. The Washington Warriors. Now,
the WW is not bad at all.
Alliteration is always good for a name.
Yeah. I think, how about just Washington and just calling it that? Just leave him nameless.
The Washington.
Like not even the football team, just Washington.
Just Washington.
Just W's everywhere.
Hey man, who are you a fan of? Oh, Washington.
Yeah. Sick. I didn't ask what sport. Doesn't matter. Washington. Just a big Washington guy.
Are we talking the state or are we talking DC or no?
Yeah, that would lead us to a lot of confusion there.
Sure. That's to say the least. And I think one of the worst ones here is the Wayfarers. We don't need to go back to that. Bringing back the whole Epstein controversy that Alex so graciously brought up with us. Or you can just do 32 FC. Or it's no. I would say out of these, Warriors, probably the top two. Warriors, Red Tails, if you want to throw in a third. Let's go Commanders.
Yeah.
And now, of course, Dan Snyder is going to pick something completely different than anything that's remotely good. But sticking with the Washington football team, let's talk about their most recent quarterback, Alex Smith. That legend has finally retired from the NFL. And I'm shocked that he was even able to make his retirement wait until just now, which is crazy because the whole leg injury, I mean, we don't have to reiterate that. We've already talked through that 1,000 times. You've heard that 1,000 times over. Still a fantastic story, though. But he officially retires from the league. And my question to you is, should they rename the Comeback Player of the Year award to the Alex Smith Trophy?
I mean, it's either maybe, how about this? It's the Alex Smith Trophy presented by Ross Allen as the person who correctly identified Alex Smith as the 2020 Comeback Player of the Year.
Boom.
I think that's a winner. Personally, I think I'm going to stick with – I think for sure they keep the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year because that is legitimately what you think of when you think of comeback. You're making a comeback. You couldn't walk a year before you stepped on that field. You thought you might not have a leg, and this dude runs out there against Aaron Donald's led defense and steps on the field just remarkably. And This wasn't as much as everyone wants to think this was like a gimmick last year. He legitimately won the starting job. He was the best quarterback in that room for that specific scenario. They made the playoffs. He led them to wins. He wasn't he was probably a net negative quarterback, but their overall defense just kept them above. But he didn't lose them.
It was from your favorite player, Chase Taylor, of course.
Oh my God. Just give me a break. But that's the thing is, like, Alex Smith was a contributing member of a playoff team last year, and the year before he couldn't walk. Mm-hmm. That is the definition of a comeback player of the year. I think I don't think he's a Hall of Famer just because he doesn't have the playoff success or the Super Bowls or anything like that.
It's not a bad thing, though. Just like how Julian Edelman is not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't mean he's not a good player.
No, so I think this is their kind of their olive branch to Alex Smith, because I think he was a very big component in the 2010s as just a decade, because he was that guy that prepped the stage for Patrick Mahomes. He was the guy that all the quarterbacks that are now, they may need to take a little bit of time to develop. They're taking the Patrick Mahomes route. You need an Alex Smith in that veteran quarterback starting spot. So he becomes just an undercover important part of the NFL and the NFL story in that way. And also the story is just crazy. I mean, it's one of those stories that the NFL is going to try to promote as much as they can, because that's good publicity for the NFL in general and everything that the NFL stands for. So they're going to do whatever they can to prop up this Alex Smith story, and I don't blame them at all.
And the story is that if you rename it to the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year award, that's just going to end up with more publicity, which means more money. So, of course, Roger Goodell should be all over that with his grubby little greedy fingers and little whatever. We don't need to mumble about him much longer. One new thing, though, that is confirmed is that the Bengals released their brand new uniforms, Alex. And I got to say, they look similar to their old ones, but at the same time, they look real good, real sleek. I have two disappointments, though, or one that is out of their control, one that's in their control. The orange jerseys will look way better with the all-orange uniform, so orange pants included. I just wish they did that. And the NFL needs to get rid of that damn one helmet rule so they could have a white helmet for the all-white uniform that would look sick.
That all-white uniform is sick.
But that's too nice. We can't have nice things because we're NFL fans.
But I mean, here's the thing that I like about these uniforms is I think everyone from Color Rush is just like, aesthetically, once or twice a year, I want all the same color jerseys. I mean, there's too many of these. Like, you just wear white pants with everything and you just put whatever jersey color on top that you do, or same thing with black. But these teams have started to get this mold of like that slick color of just straight black or straight white or straight primary color, whatever they do. The Saints all black uniforms are nasty. These Bengals uniforms are going to be nasty because the accent colors, the accent colors they have are very, very eye-catching when you look at an all white or an all black. So these, I'm telling you, I'm looking at Joe Burrow right now in this all white uniform. Whew, dude looks slicky Joey B. And these uniforms, I don't know if it's going to be. Here's the problem with white is a little bit slimming. And so they need to kind of have the opposite effect for their offensive line. So maybe their offensive line has a different colored jersey that has a little wider effect so they can have some protection for Joey B, because he could look great in these uniforms, but all of a sudden his offensive linemen are still the same offensive linemen from last year because they didn't drop Penei Sewell. And then all of a sudden he's not in the field again. So these uniforms can look great, but if Joe Burrow's not in the field in them, I don't know.
The only problem is that Joey Burrow's all white uniform is going to be like one of those paint by numbers, but instead there's just one number and it's green for the grass that he's going to be tackling.
Yeah. It's going to be on both sides too. He's going to hit from behind and from the front.
Poor guy. But also shout out to the Bengals doing one of things right and just having the cameo of Chad Ochocinco with a cigar in his mouth, just looking like a straight G with that one of the all-time legends of that team, hands down. Golden one, no, now it's Chad Johnson. Didn't he change his name back? I think it's just Johnson now. So one of those two. And then just as recently as Wednesday, the NFL has accepted or denied the possible rule changes that were proposed to them for the 2021 season. And then some of the best ones that did come out, we did get some denied ones, just like no Sky Judge. But I guess as a consolation to us, Alex, they gave the booth official more power to say, hey, refs down the field, you should look at this, but it really doesn't change much now, does it? But one thing, Alex, one thing we talked about last time that was huge is we are getting relaxed number rules.
I mean, here's the thing is I think officiating in general, especially in the NFL, there are so many nuances to the officiating system and the rule book in the NFL that if you tried to explain, I mean, me and you and the guys listening to this podcast and gals are very, very adept and very, very knowledgeable about the NFL. And if you try to
because
explain,
either they're already knowledgeable or they listen to us become even more knowledgeable.
No, exactly. It's just this community itself is very, very knowledgeable,
Love you all.
And what is so frustrating about the NFL sometimes is if you're just watching with a random person, potentially a new friend that maybe doesn't watch the NFL or maybe someone from international that doesn't really understand football, to try to explain to them the NFL rulebook and what goes on when a flag is thrown is maddening. It is so impossible. They're like, so you can hold guys when you're on offense, but on defense you can't. Like, wait, where are you allowed to hit guys? Oh, he can run someone over with his head, but if someone touches the other guy's head with their head, that's a 15-yard penalty. And hold on, just confusing. So anything to make the rule book simpler and less penalties and less flags and less intervention from the refs is good by me. So you can tell me whatever you want to do. Tell me this is going to be good for the game, better for the game. All I want to know, is it easier to understand or is it harder to understand?
Hey, Alex, I don't want to burst your bubble, but I have some bad news for you.
What is that?
The NFL is going to be tighter on the rules for unsportsmanlike conduct, as in players getting into each other's faces. There are going to be more flag happy with those this year.
That's one thing we did need. We needed less scuffles and we needed less, more intervention from the refs after the play where it really matters that they really intervene.
Heaven forbid these players show a little bit of aggression in one of the most violent sports in the world.
Yeah, it's a non-contact sport, though, so we got to make sure that sportsmanship's at an all-time high after.
Y'all ever watch the sarcastic or the South Park episode with Sarcastable?
Sarcastable. Incredible episode. Roger Goodell needs to take a look at that.
Oh, it's what we're turning into. Oh, I love being an NFL fan. It's really just the best. But that's going to bring us to our top first 10 picks of the 2021 NFL, our mock draft. And starting off with number 1, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we've known who they were going to draft for, was it 6 months at this point when they locked up the number 1 overall pick. It's Trevor Lawrence. Come on now.
Yeah, this don't get too cute, guys. Let's just not spend any time. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. He's the most complete quarterback on the market, most complete player, been talked about for a while. At this point, Jacksonville would be doing a huge detriment to themselves not drafting him, not if he's good or bad, but just because everyone would assume that since everyone's been talking about Trevor Lawrence as number 1 and they didn't take him, that he'd be that they're just a bad franchise. So you kind of already, the media and the whole NFL universe has already made this pick for them. Kind of makes their job easy.
You have to. Now for the Jets, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that it is going to be Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it is. And it kind of has to be too, because everyone's done everyone's done their evaluation and everyone's done he throws like Patrick Mahomes. He's got that, baseball arm. He can throw from all these different launch angles and different platforms. And
he has the hair. I think that's the most important aspect.
Exactly. He's got the hair, but he doesn't have the captaincy. He wasn't a captain at BYU, all that stuff. And you talk about all these things, but at the end of the day, he's got very good arm talent. He's got a good grasp. He's mobile enough. It's not the person I would take at number 2, but it's the person I think the Jets are going to take at number 2.
And he's not a bad pick by any stretch of the imagination. He's definitely going to be better than Sam Darnold. If he isn't, I'll eat something that tastes bad. I can tell you that.
Wow,
if he's worse
really
than
putting
Sam
yourself
Darnold.
on a limb there.
I know. What's a hot thing? I'll just chug and eat a few habaneros. Call it good. I guess. I can't think of anything good right now. So if you have something hotter than that, but no ghost peppers or anything, y'all are crazy. I'm good on that. But the third pick is where things can get a little interesting on this one. I I really hope, for your sake, for the NFL's sake, for the Niners just being smart, I really hope it's not Mac Jones, because he is not a third overall pick. But for me, the 49ers, and one thing that I was telling Alex is, I don't know if you saw this, but when Kyle Shanahan was over at Justin Fields' pro day, Justin Fields was dropping back with his right foot back, whereas most of the college days he spent he dropped back with his left foot back, and most of Kyle Shanahan's offensive quarterbacks have the right foot back. So are we reading into too far into things? Yeah, probably. But I think Justin Fields is more of a quarterback for that Niners offense anyway. So that's what I'm going with.
So, I mean, Justin Fields is the interesting case with the Niners because he's got a long track record with the Shanahans. They went to his dad's camp, Mike Shanahan's camp, when he was in
Shout out
eighth
to
grade.
Mike Shanahan. Thanks for the Super Bowls for the Broncos.
Incredible coach. So Justin Fields went to their camp in Atlanta 10 years ago, worked with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan has known this kid for probably 7, 8 years, 10 years. And so he's got every piece of knowledge that he needs to know about Justin Fields that he could possibly ever do. So when people were, making all these comments like, Kyle Shanahan didn't go to Justin Fields' pro day, they're definitely going Mac Jones, it's because he already knows him. He doesn't need to go to his pro day. What he wants to do, and what Justin Fields is doing recently in the last round of pro days that was specifically geared towards that Niners offense, kind of like you were talking about. They just wants to be able to see that Justin Fields can integrate into their system. And instead of doing that, after they've drafted them and after they already get them in camp, they're just doing that process before the draft. And I think that's going to send Kyle Shanahan any information that he needs to know to actually make this pick, because a lot of the times that we've seen in the past 3 to 4 years with the Niners is whoever Kyle Shanahan likes for his system, at least on offense, that's the guy he gets. John Lynch is not the one making those final calls on personnel for the offense. It's Kyle Shanahan. And I think Kyle Shanahan's guy that he went up to number 3 to get, it was not Mac Jones. It could be Justin Fields, but I think the number 2 quarterback in this draft, arguably number 1 tool-wise, is Trey Lance. Trey Lance, to me, is incredible. He's the prototypical new age 2021 quarterback because he's got a massive arm. Accuracy short and accuracy middle, not the greatest, but he's got the power to drive it into those windows. He's played in a pro-style system in North Dakota. Does not turn the ball over. All of 2019 in an undefeated season where they go actually through playoffs, the FCS goes through playoffs. He did not throw one interception.
That's ridiculous.
Had over 1,000 rushing yards. In the one game he played in 2021, which was like his showcase game, he threw an interception. He did not have it with the arm, but he ran for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, we're talking about a guy that has Josh Allen's skill set, Josh Allen's arm talent, Josh Allen's chip on the shoulder. But he's not as big as Josh Allen, but significantly faster. Runs like Josh Allen. People, defenders, corners, middle linebackers, safeties bounce off this guy. He's got a couple plays where he's running over people in the end zone. He has every single tool he needs to be able to be successful in the NFL. He could be a top 5 talent. They're going to keep Jimmy G for a year. Jimmy G can do whatever he needs to do to teach Trey Lance the system, but Trey Lance has Patrick Mahomes upside. He's got Josh Allen upside. He's got this kind of upside because of all the tools he has. And Kyle Shanahan would be the perfect person to pair him with. If they got Trey Lance, I would be ecstatic. If they got Justin Fields, I would be ecstatic. If they got Mac Jones, I would be devastated.
Moving on to number 4.
Whew.
I was trying to debate this one. I was thinking the Broncos they're going to make a trade on night 1 or before night 1, but it's between the Falcons and another team. I end up not being the Falcons because I think they might be able to hold off on this for their sake. But the Falcons, if they stay at that number 4 spot, they are going to be taking a tight end. And what better guy to take than the best tight end and arguably the best receiving player in the draft? That's Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, if the Falcons keep this pick, I see no other way than drafting Kyle Pitts. I don't think they'll keep this pick. I think someone ends up trading, whether that's the Lions, whether that's the Broncos, whether that's the Patriots trying to sneak up there, whether that's a completely new team. It could even be the Eagles going up there, trading back up to get a quarterback. There's a couple teams that fourth pick is obviously, and I think it's all going to depend on who the Niners take at 3, because if a team has a quarterback, whether it's Fields, whether it's Lance, or whether it's even Mac Jones that they want, that is there at 4, they're going to be aggressive and go up and get that guy.
Yeah.
And so I think the Broncos are going to do that, because I think Trey Lance goes 3. Broncos see a guy that can play in that system, that is mobile enough, is going to remind them a little bit of a jumbo John Elway. And Justin Fields would be a perfect fit. They have the receiving talent. Their defense is got some holes, but it's a very, very good foundationally defense. And with Vic Fangio, they're always going to have an above average defense. So you put Justin Fields, you put a guy like that in there, and I think it's worth trading your 3rd round pick this year, your 1st round pick this year, and probably a future first as well. So I think the Broncos trade up, they grab their quarterback, and they punt on trying to get Deshaun Watson and get another guy that is just a little jumbo version.
And I would not complain if that were to go down. I wouldn't either. Next, for the Bengals, though, is I'm really worried about them, to be honest. I am really worried about this Bengals team. I am being cautiously optimistic with what they should do. Whether they will do it or not, who knows? But the best offensive lineman in prospect in years and years is available in this draft. He's going to be available at the spot. Bengals, don't let Joe Burrow get another torn ACL. Please do something with the offensive line. Please, 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 please take Penei Sewell.
Yeah, I mean, this is the dream pick. This is the pick we've been talking about for months and months and months. And
it's actually going to fall into his lap now, man.
Bengals just need to. And here's the problem. They're going to fall into his lap, and they're going to pass on him because they brought in Riley Reiff. They said, here's the thing is they didn't bring in Riley Reiff to protect Joe Burrow. They brought in Riley Reiff to protect themselves and the front office from fans saying they didn't address their offensive line. They say, oh, no, we got this guy that was elite a couple of years ago. He's way past his prime now, but he's going to protect our Joe Burrow, I promise. And they're going to draft Jamar Chase, and they're going to have a nasty receiving core. They're going to have a nasty quarterback. They're going to have no defense, no offensive line, and no wins to show for it. And that's going to be the Bengals 2021 unless they draft Penei Sewell. But I'm going to say they're going to draft Jamar Chase because that's no fun to draft an offensive lineman. You want to draft the big, tall receiver that played with Joe Burrow.
Who knows, Alex? As long as the offensive line gets to him, Joe Burrow, 2 seconds, he could that's enough time to take 2 steps back and throw the ball up as far as you can. I guess that's what they're going to be with offensively. Then for the 6th pick, the Dolphins, and they have a plethora of choices that I really think they can go with here. There's a lot of different options that the Dolphins could do. Hell, they might be able to even trade back a little bit more too. So I think they end up keeping this. So they go receiver, they go Alabama receiver, but they go Jalen Waddle.
So here's the thing: is I think Jalen Waddle has a much higher ceiling than Devontae Smith because we've never seen someone quite like Jalen Waddle. He's got burst. He's got top end speed. He's got quickness. He's an incredible route runner, has really good hands, very elusive, very smart. We have not seen someone with that kind of package before, but you have that black cloud hanging over his head of that ankle injury, and you saw him in the championship game. And I honestly think that it was so admirable for him to go out on that, and he was clearly hobbled by that ankle. He was clearly not 100%, but he still went out there. And I don't know if that hurt or helped his stock because he looked, very, very hampered by it. He was hurt by it. And that was 3 months removed from the injury. And so unless you are confident as a medical staff that ankle is going to fully heal 100% and he's going to be able to get back to that athleticism he had in 2019 and the start of 2020, I think he's got a higher ceiling than Devontae Smith, but his floor is so much lower. So, where I agree with you and the aggressor in me wants to go take Jalen Waddle because I think he could be incredible. And I've never seen a receiver with as much explosiveness as him. But Devontae Smith is so smooth, is so pure. Yeah, he is such a prototypical number one receiver where he can run every single route in the route tree, has worked with Tua. They came up together. They're in the same recruiting class. They came up the ranks. that championship year, Tua threw that ball to Devontae Smith. He didn't throw it to Judy, not to Waddle, not to Ruggs. He threw it to Devontae Smith. So they already have rapport. I think that's the logical pick there. If they want to get cute, they want to get aggressive, go take Jalen Waddle. But I think Devontae is going to be the pick there.
And now for me, it's really close between these two guys. It's really hard to choose between the two, quite frankly. It's almost like really the better receiver of the two, like as of them getting drafted, it's probably going to be a coin flip at this point. But I mean, either guy would be a good pick for the Dolphins. Now, the next one is the Lions currently have the 7th pick in the draft, but they're not going to on draft night because the Broncos are going to trade up to 7. They're at 9. They're going to move to 7 because I think they still might be able to get Trey Lance with this pick, and that is who they're going to go with. Because since I believe the Niners are going to go after Justin Fields, if anything, the Broncos might even be able to get Justin Fields at 7. I think once you make it through the first 3 picks, maybe 4 with the Falcons, we'll talk about that in a second, you should be able to get the quarterback that you want, but the Broncos are going to have to contend with the Detroit Lions about possibly getting a quarterback. So the trade of the peer, Trey Lance is your man. Elway guy with a fat arm. And the only problem is he's not 6'5", but at least Elway is not going to be drafting for the first time in a while. We get George Patton, and he does the right choice.
Yeah, and so this is where I think that the Broncos, they obviously can't draft here because they already drafted at 4 in my little mock draft here. So I think the Detroit Lions are going to stay there. They need help on the outside. They lost their big guy, Kenny Golladay. And I think with Jared Goff there, he's clearly not the quarterback of the future there. So you could go quarterback here.
Really? He's not the quarterback of the future? No way.
I mean, come on. Well, he's getting paid. He's getting paid like it. I'll tell you that much. But he is clearly not going to be there for a while. So instead of reaching for Mac Jones here, or instead of trying to trade up and go to get that guy early, I think they have to just go best player available here. And I think that's Jalen Waddle. I'm tempted here to take Pitts because he's still on the board here, but it's hard to warrant that when you just used the 9th overall pick 2 years ago in a tight end. And so 2 out of the 3, your last 3 years drafting a top 10 player and they're both being tight ends is kind of hard to fathom and stomach as a front office. But I think they go Waddle. I think they go Waddle here. I think he's great. He's going to be great in a dome. He's going to be great where he's got a fast track. And I don't know. It's just something about Jalen Waddle. I really, really love his game. And I think he's going to be incredible wherever he ends up.
And now going on into the 8th pick now, that is the Carolina Panthers. And I think there's a team here. They've been building up that defense. Last year's draft, I think they continue on with that. And the way where they would put their money in this one, so to say, is in Patrick Surtain, the cornerback, and which is a position that the Panthers are not. I would say, Alex, if you want to put it lightly, they do not really excel at that position right now. So Patrick is going to be a fantastic acquisition for them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go offensive tackle in this pick as well.
Yeah, I think Rashawn Slater's on the board here. I think Darrisaw's on the board here. I think one thing they have to do is they have to address their tight end position. And I don't think Pitts falls to them in the real draft here. But in this little mock scenario we got here where we have the Broncos trading up to grab Fields and 4 quarterbacks going and 3 receivers going, I think they just take the next best player on the board, which to me is Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is going to address a massive gap where currently on the Panthers roster, I think they have Dan Arnold and Ian Thomas, which is just not going to get the job done, especially if you want to give Sam Darnold, that safety blanket. He actually used the tight ends a lot when he was with the Jets, and he used the tight ends a lot when he was at USC. So he's clearly a guy that has the arm strength to get it in tight windows over the middle. Kyle Pitts is a nightmare over the middle. I don't need to sell this guy as a talent. I don't need to sell this guy as a tight end or as a receiving talent. He's the best tight end we've seen come off the board. I cannot remember a tight end with as high of praise that Kyle Pitts is getting I've ever seen. So getting him anywhere in the top 10 would be a steal. At 8, even better steal.
Now at number 9, it is the Detroit Lions for me as they traded back with the Denver Broncos. And here is where one of the best, for a lot of people, the biggest and the highest rated wide receiver prospect in this draft, finally gets drafted, and that is Jamar Chase out of LSU. The Lions get a big guy to replace Kenny Galladay, and the guy that's going to be better than Kenny Galladay ultimately.
Oh, I agree completely. Jamar Chase is an absolute monster, and that's why the Bengals drafted him at 5. But Falcons here at number 9 with the trade from the Broncos are going to address that offensive line. They're going to get their left tackle or right tackle of the future. Rashawn Slater is very, very, very athletic for his size. He's a monster of a human being, can play the right side, can play the left side. I think he projects best as a left tackle because of his athleticism and because of the way he can move his feet. He's going to be very good on the left side. Mm-hmm. So the Falcons drafting that left tackle and getting arguably the best tackle. I think him and Penei Sewell are closer than a lot of people think from a pure prospect standpoint. And that is also why Penei Sewell is getting jumped in this draft. And Rashawn Slater is going to be the first tackle off the board at number 9.
And now in number 10, rounding out our first 10 picks of the first round, that is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. And here, I could see the Patriots trading up for a Mac Jones. I could see that. I don't think it happens, though. And now here's where they take the second best cornerback off the board, and that is J.C. Horn.
And I agree with you on the J.C. Horn pick. What I'm not going to agree with you on is that he's the second best corner. I think he is the best corner in the game right now. I think Caleb Farley's a little better, but he's got his own concerns right now with the injuries. But I think J.C. Horn, son of Joe Horn, is just so physical at the line of scrimmage, and he's going to fit in perfectly with that Cowboys defense because the Cowboys defense, their outside guys love to put their hands on receivers, and especially with, just the kind of players that have come through the Cowboys system. They have not had good luck at corner. No. They've had swing and a miss after swing and a miss. And I think J.C. Horn has a very, very high floor. And he's going to be a guy that you can actually sit there and say, okay, I can see this guy being a Cowboy corner for the next 5 years, which is not something you've been able to say about any of their last first round picks.
Right. So if they're able to actually do something right, get the defensive pick, just almost any defender at this point might be a good pick for the Cowboys because that defense is
not good. Not good at all.
It's not good, Cotton. Now, there we go. First 10 picks off the board. That's what it's going to be. I would love to see your guys' picks. So whether you want to drop in the comments or let us know what you would tweak or change with us, or if there's actually going to be a surprise in the first overall pick, which there shouldn't be, guys, please take a chill pill. Don't get into the whole Skip Bayless kind of stuff right now. There is no need for that, but just leave a review, or you could leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts with your thoughts about what's going to happen through these first 10 picks of the 2021 NFL Draft. But with that being said, it's time to get into our next segment. And Alex, let's roll it. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, here we go. It's our buy or sell segment. For those that don't know how it works at this point, whether you be new or whether you just have a bad memory. So we give you five statements, and it's up to you of whether you're going to buy it or if you're going to sell it. And the first statement, to give it a little context, on Wednesday, I believe it was the Eagles, and it was the Eagles office saying, there's going to be a quarterback competition this year. Jalen Hurts is not being named the starter. And Alex, that means that Jalen Hurts is not going to be the starting quarterback for the Eagles week 1 of next season.
I mean, I'm going to have to sell it because I don't see them realistically taking a quarterback at 6 or at 12. They're at 12 now, right? 12. I can't see them.
Maybe.
No, I mean, I just can't see it because Jalen Hurts gives you a high floor. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be there. He's almost like you can steal at least 6 to 7 wins just based on the fact that he's going to have a couple games where he rushes for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's just going to have those games where he breaks off big runs, and that you just don't have that option from other quarterbacks.
Mhm.
So I think giving him a year to see if he's Lamar Jackson or to see if he's Tim Tebow is not the worst thing in the world, especially because that division alone is not a good division. It is not it's not a division that you're scared every single year that they have, this massive, force like the Chiefs or, like just a team like that, a division like that. So why not give Jalen Hurts a shot? You can go out there and win the division, winning, 8-9 games. We saw that last year. Now with the 17-week season, you can go 9-8 and win this division. I think Jalen Hurts gives you a chance to do that. So why not use the draft capital you got this year and the fact that you have draft capital next year, meaning if Jalen Hurts doesn't pan out, if he doesn't go the way that you planned, who cares? You have another first-round pick next year, and you have your own first pick next year, so you can restart from there. And you have so much receiving talent in this draft. It makes no sense why they wouldn't add an offensive weapon. And getting another quarterback just makes no sense to me. So I'm going to sell this statement. Jalen Hurts will start week 1.
Right now, Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter. And I really don't buy this whole there was going to be a competition, a quarterback. Well, okay, we're going to have a quarterback competition, but is it really going to be a competition, or is it going to be a air quotes competition? There's really no way, unless they really trade up and get like a Trey Lance or Justin Fields somehow, maybe a Mac Jones, that there's even anything remotely close to competition. Because actually, Alex, excuse me, I am going to buy the statement because you want to know who the competition is going to be between? The most elite quarterback to ever grace the gridirons. That is Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is confirmed for the Eagles starter next season. Let's get it going. And they're going to win another Super Bowl because of that. No, of course, I'm just kidding. Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter next year. And there really shouldn't be all too much kind of drama or controversy about it. He's just the better quarterback. And I don't see them actually getting someone better than him. Now, one of the things I allude to, Alex, back with our first 10 picks of our mock draft is the Bengals might be making a huge mistake. And you allude to the mistake that they could be making. So my next statement for you is that the Bengals are making a huge mistake if they draft Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell.
And I think we know the answer to this already. I think we all know it's a huge mistake. They're going to make it still. We've seen time and time again the teams that draft the offensive lineman in an offensive weapon-rich draft usually comes out ahead, right? AKA the Colts. You draft the best player that is going to make the biggest impact, and whether that's an impact because he doesn't allow Carson Wentz or he doesn't allow Phillip Rivers or it was the Jacoby Brissett. These guys didn't get touched. Jonathan Taylor has holes bigger than Nebraska. These people have been paved the way for success because of guys like Quentin Nelson. And if the Bengals draft the flashy receiver, the flashy skill position guy that they think is going to completely, change the way their offense works, is they're correct. Is they're going to draft that guy, and they're not going to be able to run an offense because their offense is going to work without any protection, because it all starts with the offensive line. We know that this is the most important position on the offense besides the quarterback position. And if they don't draft Sewell, when this guy was projected to be the number 1 or the number 2 pick, again, I think Rashawn Slater is actually a little better prospect than Sewell, but I don't think it's anything, too wide of a gap. So if Sewell they think is the best offensive tackle in the draft right now, they need to draft him at number 5. If they don't, then draft Rashawn Slater, trade back, do whatever you need to do. Just do not draft another offensive weapon. You don't need it.
The thing is here, drafting Jamar Chase, he provides a lot of talent to the offense. But I saw the best diagram ever. It's just some stick figures, Alex. So with Jamar Chase and their normal offensive line, Joe Burrow is going to be able to get the ball off, but the ball isn't going to get to Jamar Chase. Or you can take an average wide receiver with a Penei Sewell in front of him, and you'll actually be able to get the ball to your average wide receiver. And Joey Burrow is good enough quarterback to be able to put the ball in the catchable spot 9 times out of 10 for his receivers. So he could work with the average receiver. He doesn't need a Jamar Chase. He needs a Penei Sewell. And that's why if they don't draft him, and like you said, it's a mistake, but they're not going to draft him, are they? I don't.
No,
I
we
just
know what's
not,
going to
no,
happen. We already
no
know.
confidence in the Bengals. It's quite embarrassing at this point. But in our mock draft, we did not have the Falcons taking a quarterback, Alex. But my statement here is that they should draft a quarterback, that they should be getting the replacement for Matt Ryan this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple sides of this argument. One is you can say that the Falcons think they're a good team, so they're never going to be drafting this high in a quarterback-rich draft in a while. So if you're there, you need to draft a game-changing quarterback just because of the situation you're in. Mm-hmm. But the problem is they're already too committed to Matt Ryan, and this has kind of been a switch in the last 5 years with the salary cap really coming into play. Is almost the biggest plus that a quarterback has these days is the fact that he's on a rookie contract. And so if you have that position, you draft your quarterback to replace Matt Ryan, but you still have Matt Ryan for this year, and it's going to be a huge cap hit even if you get rid of him next year. So even if you have him develop and stew and cook for all these time behind Matt Ryan, on the back end of it, you're losing all of the built-in addition by having a rookie contract at the quarterback position and able to fill other places. So I think that they should not draft a quarterback just because they have a new offensive system coming in. They have a new head coach. The first thing the new offensive coordinator and new head coach wants to do, it should not be, let's integrate this 22-year-old kid into our system, because if they're not successful year one, it's going to be tough for Arthur Smith to come back and say, oh no, we just need more time. We need more time. We need more time. Because that's just not something a first-year head coach gets very rarely. So I think they're much better off going with a Kyle Pitts, going with another offensive weapon type, or trading back, getting another corner, getting something else, getting an offensive tackle. But I think quarterback is just not something that head coaching staff wants to do. And they have Matt Ryan, who's still an average to above average quarterback in the right system.
I would be able to call Matt Ryan a diet Matt Stafford, where he's one of these more underrated guys. Maybe he has a good value. He can win you football games. Is he going to? A lot of the times, no.
He's a little less flashy, Matt Stafford.
Yeah. So I think we could still call Matty Ice. Of course, his reputation is always going to be taking a hit after what happened a few Super Bowls ago. They're never going to be able to live that down here. I think you can make the argument either way, like you said, Alex. If they take a quarterback here, they can get Trey Lance. They might be able to get Justin Fields. So if you're able to get one of those two quarterbacks, which you're going to be able to do, I think that's a successful draft. But I really don't think that they're sold or that they're ready to move on from Matty Ice. That's a mistake, though. I already said what they should have done and was a missed opportunity is that they already should have traded Matt Ryan to the San Francisco 49ers before all this kind of trade talk and draft talk happened. That should have happened weeks and weeks and weeks ago. But here we are. That's not the case. I truly believe that the Falcons should just move on from Matt Ryan already. You're going to have to eat some money because of that, because of the cap hit, because the salary cap. But that's not going to be the worst thing. And you have to look to the future. The Falcons are cool. They should be doing an all-out rebuild right now anyway. Anything less than an all-out full rebuild is a mistake on their part. So this is time to get a quarterback in this quarterback-heavy draft. And it's not often you get the 4th overall pick in the first round, okay? So they should take a quarterback. Are they going to? Yeah, probably not. It's the Falcons. Same reason for the Bengals.
We all know that.
Are they going to make the right pick? Nah, come on now. One of the other things is that if you are on our Instagram, or if you're on our Twitter, Instagram at Fourth Long Radio, Twitter at Fourth Long Radio, I put out these daily free agency posts. Of course, I'm running low on content. It was a lot more fun about a month or two ago, Alex, when we still had some good names up, and now I'm kind of scratching the bottom of the barrel. I might have to throw out that Steven Gostkowski post here one of these days. Oh, it's a tough day. It's a tough time. But one of the guys I put out recently was Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant still wants to play next year. He did play 6 games with the Ravens this last season. Did it work out all that well? Yeah, kind of. It wasn't really the worst thing. They got him cheap. He made some good catches. He played fairly well. I'll give him that. But he still wants to play. A couple teams that he is hinting to. He wants to play with the Cardinals, which that wouldn't be a bad thing, having another wide receiver there, another veteran presence on the team. It wouldn't really hurt, depending on. It's probably going to be like a veteran minimum at this point. Or the return to the Cowboys has not been ruled out. But Alex, I think my biggest question to you is the statement here, Dez Bryant is going to play next season.
Yeah, I'm going to buy that statement just because I think it's going to be hard for him to start the year on an NFL team. Mm-hmm. I think the more likely outcome is, by week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, by the time that those first couple of teams are having their buys and their receiver room gets a little injured, gets a little flat, they need to bring someone in, or one of the lesser teams in the NFL that's not getting any sort of publicity, maybe they need to make a splash just to get in the headlines again. So he's a great guy to have around in the free agency pool throughout the year, just to pull him and potentially get a headline. Mm-hmm. But I don't see him making any sort of real impact in 2021, but I definitely think he is going to play in some capacity in 2021, or at least suit up in an active roster.
Is he going to be on a team's roster for week 1? I don't think so. It's going to be closer to something that Alex said. But if I were to make a prediction, Alex, he will be on the Arizona Cardinals this year for, let's call it 5 games. I think he could do that for 5 games a little later.
Well, they need to replace their 45-year-old receiver that would never retire.
Well, no, it's because Larry Fitzgerald is going to be going to the Vikings, right? Isn't that what we talked about? Was it almost a month ago at this point? Yeah. The Niners, the Cardinals, whether it be Larry Fitzgerald.
You can switch if you want to be a Niners fan, man. We are accepting applications.
Red, yeah, they're both red. They did play at the same stadium too. So are they really all that different? Not really. Maybe. Hey, you can make the argument there.
Maybe not.
But the last statement of the week is that on Wednesday, TJ Ward officially retired from the NFL. He played for 3 teams. His longest tenure was with the Cleveland Browns, but he was a part of the no-fly zone with the Denver Broncos. Then he had 1 season with the Bucs, and it wasn't even the Super Bowl season. So, we won't really talk about that one. But my statement here, Alex, is that TJ Ward is going to be remembered more as a Bronco than he is as a Brown.
I'm going to buy this statement just on the basis that I remember him most as a Bronco than as a Brown, because I think he made just more of an impact as a Bronco. I feel like he had more of his big hits as a Bronco.
Man, that guy could hit.
He could lay some thunder, man. He is incredibly.
I think people forget how much of a downhill safety he was. He was a Jamal Adams before Jamal Adams was even.
100%. He was the original bring your box down, or bring your box safety down at the end of the line of scrimmage and let him defend against the run. He was.
You want safety as a pass is to be put back in pass coverage? Nah. Send him every time.
No, he was a throwback player. He was. I'm gonna buy that statement because I think he made a more, just a bigger impact as a Bronco, and that's who I remember him by. And so I'll let you speak a little more to him because I know that's your guy there. So
he played 4 years as a Cleveland Brown. He got his fame when he was with the Browns, but it's that fame where he was signed to the Broncos, and he was a big part of that no-fly zone. Of course, like I said, not in pass coverage, although he did have some good stops in pass coverage every once in a while, but he was really playing off the edge, or this guy could read the hell out of a run play. He was so fast flowing downhill, and he was like this little wrecking ball, like all 5'10" of him. And dude knew how to lay the boom. He also knew how to antagonize the team too, which also worked out in his favor a number of times, also worked against him a number of times. But I just remember one of my favorite pictures of all time, Alex. I'm going to think back into my memory. It's late in the fourth quarter against the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 50. Cam Newton is sacked or stripped by Von Miller. Cam Newton doesn't dive for the football. The ball gets kind of kicked around and stuff like that. And who comes up with the recovery? That's TJ Ward walking his way into the end zone, celebrating into the end zone. And the picture is just TJ Ward and the Broncos celebrating. And in the background, you see Cam Newton on his knees, just looking all dejected that he just lost the game. And also, that moment was when Cam Newton's career ended. So that picture is always going to be in my head. TJ Ward, he's a Bronco. I believe he belongs. He played 3 years on the Broncos. Put them on the Ring of Fame. No, I'm just playing. That might be a little too far. Might be a little too far, but he's always going to be remembered very fondly in Denver, even though he had a short amount of time there. Any Broncos fan loves him for what he was able to bring to that team. So ultimately, he's going to be a Bronco. Sorry, Browns fans. I guess you just don't deserve anything good.
No,
nope. You made the playoffs recently, so yeah, he looked good in brown. Can we say that? But he always looked better in orange.
There you go. Okay, let's end it at that one.
Yeah, but that's going to do it for our buy or sell segment. And Alex, like I said at the beginning of the show, if you listen to our UFC stuff, which if you do, thank you very much. Fantastic sport, by the way. Really third in this, because you got football, you got Australian football, which is that stuff is so good. Footy is underrated. Go buy a t-shirt. And you also have the NFL one. But we introduced the brand new segment called Nene of the Week. Now, those that don't understand what a Nene is, I get it because it's very niche saying. It's really only like my group of friends that really say it. Group of friends being 2 other 3 Patreon supporters for us. Shout out to Ray Rodriguez and Brandon Watson. We love you both. But to get Nene, Alex, to put it in different terms, like to get schooled, to get dunked on, to get effed, it's one of those where you get played. So my Nene of the week is going to be anyone that thought that the NFL would do something positive about is officiating. And myself included, I was one of the people that got Nene this week because NFL, no sky judge, and they're going to be calling more penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct. Oh boy, I'm so excited, Alex. I'm so excited. Why did I ever even think about getting any bit of my hopes up and put any bit of confidence into the NFL?
Because
it's on me, right?
Yeah, it's 100% on you. I don't know why you thought anything would be different, but I think we should give people a better understanding of what the Nene of the week is. And I got a good one for you. I got a really good one.
Okay.
So Nene of the week for me, and it's maybe of the last couple weeks extended since I did not get to participate in the show last week. We did this
last week, so I'll give you the grace period.
Yeah, give me a pass for the first one. But my Nene of the week goes to Jets CEO Christopher Johnson, as this was a quote from 3 years ago, right after the draft. I honestly think that 20 years from now, we are going to look back and say this is the moment in time that the Jets shifted into a new year, into a new age, into a new dynasty.
Oh, no.
End quote. And let's fast forward 3 years later. Jets trade Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers for a 4th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, and a 2nd-round pick. So here's the good thing. The good thing we have on this, we don't have to wait 20 years to look back on it anymore. We only got to wait 3. Jeez. And we can look back and say they did shift. They shifted from a franchise that had butt fumbles to a franchise that fumbled the draft. So they got a chance here to reconcile things with Zach Wilson. But yeah, Chris Johnson, that's a tough look there from your CEO. And then 3 years later, you are trading your franchise-changing superstar out for a guy with the same haircut, but different guy.
Oh, that is just not good. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap it for this week's NFL offseason breakdown. Let us know what you think, all your thoughts, whether it be in the comments on YouTube, like I said, or over on our socials, Instagram and Twitter, or over on our Apple Podcast page. Leave a 5-star review with all that you think. Alex, it's been a pleasure. And in one word or phrase, thinking and looking forward to the last couple, or looking back at the last couple of things that have happened and transpired, one word of phrase on how you're feeling about the NFL at this point.
Draft day.
Draft day. That's all we got on our mind. That's next week, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it done. And hopefully the rest of this week flies by. Then the beginning of next week flies by so we can just get to the draft already, damn it. But we will see all of you in the next one.